What is an aura reading? Well, I'm going to share in this video some things with you, things that I've experienced myself, that I've learned, that you've asked me, some questions that I will incorporate in it. There's a bit of wind sometimes, so I'll try to speak loud enough. But I want to start with share with you what an aura is before I start sharing more about an aura reading, right? Because I think most of you know already, but an aura is actually like this energetic field that we have around us that we can't really see. Some people can see it, but like sometimes we can feel it. Sometimes you can like enter a space or a room and you're like, I can feel the energy, or I'm sensing something with this person. A lot of times that has to do with the aura of the person. And this aura is something that we have like since we're born, even before already. And so in that aura, there's actually like a kind of energetic blueprint that says things about you, about who you are, what your purpose is, what your talents are, what your energy is like, but also things you experienced in life, things you believe, things you've experienced. All these things, they actually come together in the aura. So the aura is in a way like a get together of all these different things of who you are and what you've experienced. And so our aura has like different colors, and these colors, they change. A lot of times there are certain colors in certain areas, they can change. They're always changing because you are also always changing. So some people sometimes take like an aura picture, like a photo, and then they can see like there are different colors in the aura, but maybe when they would take it another day, the picture would be differently, right? And so the difference with an aura reading is that when you do an aura reading, you actually get a lot of information of what is that, like what are the things that are in your aura, like what is your energetic blueprint, what are certain dynamics that are in your life, what are certain patterns that you're having, how are you dealing with relationships, or what are your talents, or a lot of things sometimes that you already know, that deep down you really know, but that is difficult to see, or you're neglecting it, or sometimes it's confrontational because you don't really know it. Like maybe sometimes you're hearing things that you don't know yet. So for me and for a lot of people I know who do it, it's a great tool of self-knowledge. It's a great tool to get to know yourself even better, and to love yourself too, like to love all your parts, all the parts of yourself, right? So sometimes an aura reading is also called like an energetic portrait, or an aura portrait, or a chakra reading, because when I do an aura reading, and a lot of people who do aura readings, they also read images in all the different chakras that you have, like going from the first chakra until the seventh chakra. That's what we read, because all these chakras, they have different topics. It's about survival, your relationship with your father, or something about money, or how you communicate, or things in love, or connection with the divine. It can be a lot of different topics. It just depends of also the moment and what needs to come up at that time, right? And so it's very colorful, and it's very visual too, because an aura reading happens like the way how I do it. I start with a color, and then through that color I can see an image, and then out of that image there is a message coming. And so the reason why I work, and how I've learned it, why we work with images, is because images, they have a lot of symbolism, and spirit, things in the spirit world, and just like spirit and how our soul and spirits understand things, a lot of times is through symbols. It's sometimes way deeper. So also when you receive an aura reading, or when you listen to it, it's not only like listening to messages, like your soul, your spirit is really like receiving it. It's like an energetic receiving an energetic shift sometimes that happens too. So that's already that. And then I want to share a bit like how an aura reading works. So if I would do an aura reading with someone who's in front of me, I would sit on a chair and that person would sit like a few meters, like let's say 2 meters in front of me, also on a chair. And I would close my eyes. That person needs to have his or her eyes open. And I will actually connect with the aura, with the energetic field of the other person. And I will ask that person to say his or her name 3 times. And because it's 3 times, like I'm actually inviting in spirit, it's also the permission of the person so that I can read the aura, right? And with that permission, with the name, I'm actually also connecting with my third eye. And it's my third eye that actually connects with the aura of the other person and gets information about the aura, about that other person. And then I just start talking. So this aura reading is like most of the time an hour that I'm just talking the whole time about the other person. And so mostly I start with a general message, general image and message. There's also a past life that's in an aura reading. It's not specifically a past life that someone really lived. It's more like a past life that has a certain vibration, and that person also has a certain vibration, and these 2 lives are a match. And there's a lot of things that can be learned out of a past life. And then there's these different chakras, and every chakra also has a color, an image, and a message. And so the person just listens and then like integrates it. A lot of times it can be a lot to receive, so the person needs some time to like let it sink in and process. So that's how it goes when I'm in front of a person. But an aura reading is also something that I do a lot from afar. Like someone can be like in Brazil, in Australia, in Belgium, in UK, in Argentina, even though I'm in Ghana. And this is because I'm connecting with the spirit, with the aura of the other person. And in the spiritual realm, there is no time and space. So it actually doesn't really matter where the person is. I need a permission. The person really needs to give the permission and wants the aura reading, right? But like once the person really wants it, I can connect with the aura of the person, do the aura reading, and send it digitally, and then the person will listen to the aura reading in their own timing. So that's basically how it works. Let me see if I wrote something else down also for the questions. Oh yeah, another thing that's very important is that for me, the one who's doing the aura reading, I need a lot of time to prepare myself to do an aura reading. So for me, it's not something that I can just do right away. I know there are people who are able to really see a lot, like just walking around in life. I also decided for myself, I closed that down. I only intentionally go to that space, right? And so for me, like I do a whole meditation, a whole clearing of my own chakras, a whole closing up of certain portals almost, so that I'm sure that I'm only connecting with very pure spirit and the aura of the other person. That's very important. I never do an aura reading if I've not done that clearing and preparation. It's extremely important to be in this grounded, aligned, pure spiritual energy. So that's what I also do before I meet a person or before I will start doing the aura reading for the person. And so I learned doing aura readings in Brazil when I lived in a spiritual community in Brazil. But it's actually a technique, like it didn't start there. It's a technique that was already circulating for a longer time with different people. I'm still so grateful that I learned it. It was like very intensive 2 weeks of learning the techniques and practicing it. And then like in the beginning I did a lot of free aura readings. It was a lot of practicing, and then afterwards I started doing with donations. So like this was 2018. I think I don't know, over 400 aura readings or something now. If it's not more, I'm not really counting them, but to say like it's such a process. And for me personally, the biggest or the most difficult thing was to really trust that what I'm seeing is true, because we all grow up in this Western world a lot of times where we learn not to not to trust what we're feeling and seeing. And even not only in the Western world, it's actually becoming everywhere. Like this modernity energy is really like, don't trust what you're seeing, like it's just fantasy, la 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 la. So I really needed to train that muscle again, because in a way, being able to read or see auras is not like, ooh, only certain people can do it. It's actually something like we all in a way can do it. We all in a way can feel things and see things, but we need to be open to it. And you also need to know what you're tuning into, of course. And if specifically for an aura reading, it's not for everyone so easy to get messages, not so easy to really believe in them. And then another point of an aura reading is like to be able to communicate them. Because I can get an image of a purple bear that is walking in the street and then it falls in a hole, and when the person looks in the hole there is green water. I'm just saying something. It can be perfectly an image that's coming in an aura reading. And then you need to be able to describe this to the person and even attach a message to it. Like what it means for the person. Why is this coming up for the person? Right? So yeah, I think that's a little bit what I wanted to share about aura readings. I'll check quickly here if there's something else that I'm forgetting. Oh yeah, one thing. So what I explained to you now is how I do aura readings, how I've learned it, but I also sometimes do aura readings with other people, and everyone has their own way of doing it, their own technique. So it's very unique to every person, or where you've learned it, or people will shift certain things in it. But what I find is that the basis always stays the same. It's a technique that helps reading another person's aura, and the person will receive messages, images and messages about him or herself that eventually will help you further in life. It can bring a lot of clarity. It can be confrontational, but it can give you more direction. It's easier for you to know maybe what the next step is, or to understand yourself better. And sometimes even there are messages or images that don't make sense right away. And I've had so many times that people come back in like 6 months, a year, like, whoa, it didn't make sense at the time, but now that's what's happening, or that's what's, that's what you were saying. Oh, and that's another thing I also want to say. Aura readings are not future predictors. It is something like you're reading someone's aura, right? So you're reading the things about the person. It's a reading about the person and all the different things that are happening in that person's life. And so it's not about the future, but it can be about the past. Because as I said in the beginning, some things a person maybe experienced and is still hanging in the aura. And that's also why sometimes some things in our lives, we're attracting certain things in our lives that have to do with certain things we experienced in our past, because it's actually hanging in our aura, and our aura is like attracting these things. But that's actually another conversation. So yeah, it's not about the future, but a lot of times certain things that are seen in the aura about the person at the time sometimes have to do with things that happen in the future, especially sometimes when it's about like certain talents, or sometimes certain images that come true. And yeah, I think that's it. I think that's what I wanted to share with you today. I hope you enjoyed it. If you have more questions, please reach out, send me a DM, or put a comment, whatever you feel like. And in the link in bio, you find my website. If you want to read more about aura readings, or if you maybe want to book one, or you know someone who would really love to learn more about it, you can always share this video too. Okay, have a great day.